Now at 5, if you think it's cold now, it gets even colder. I'm going to break it down for you.
Also, how an area school district is staying open while dealing with a staff shortage. And President Biden holds a news conference as he marks 1 year in office.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
It's already cold and it's going to get colder tonight. This is KOAM News at 5. We go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Henny.
Yeah, this is our third Arctic blast that we've had really over the past 2 weeks. We've had the clouds throughout the daytime hours, some light little snow showers, especially along and south of Interstate 44. I'm not concerned about the snow by any means. It's the cold we're going to have to deal with as we go through the evening hours. But you can see these light little snow showers. These are pushing through, but look at our temperatures. We've been going down all day long, mid to upper 20s. We're going to continue to drop. We have this northerly wind at about 10 to 20. So of course, when it's cold and it's windy, you get the wonderful wind chill. The way it actually feels to your skin, nearly 10 degrees right now, and these are going to go below zero as we go through the overnight hours for us. Tonight, actual temperature through the 20s, through the teens. It doesn't warm up anytime soon. I'm going to break it down for you here in just a bit.
See you then. A jump in COVID cases across the 4 states has caused many schools to go virtual over the past week. But the Columbus School District tells us they haven't seen enough COVID spread among students to do that. They say the recent spread has been affecting staff. That, combined with a shortage of substitute teachers, has been a challenge, and staff members who are not sick have had to fill in all over.
As far as our staff goes, everybody, all hands on deck. It gets pretty serious when the superintendent has to substitute, but I've had to do that, and I've enjoyed it too. But, our food service directors had to get in the kitchen and work, and, we've been short custodians, so some of them have had to pick up extra work.
Tonight at 6, we're going to hear what it's like for one of the few substitute teachers in the area amid this current COVID surge and shortage. The Carl Junction School District today announced it's canceling classes for the rest of the week. Officials say student and staff attendance has gotten so low due to COVID they can't stay open. The district says the days missed this week will not be made up later in the year. The Carthage School Board takes the next step aimed at getting a new performing arts center on the high school campus. The board has approved the language for an $18 million school bond proposal to fund the project. The proposal would extend the current tax levy. Voters will decide the issue on April 5th. On the eve of his 1-year anniversary since being sworn into office, President Biden this afternoon held his first major news conference in months. It comes amid low approval ratings over his handling of the pandemic and record inflation, while his administration also faces legislative gridlock in Congress and simmering tensions along the Russia-Ukraine border. Reporter Skylar Henry is at the White House with more.
President Biden held a major news conference, a day shy of marking 1 year in office. And just like day one, COVID-19 continues to be his top priority.
Omicron has now been challenging us in a way that it's the new enemy. But while it's cause for concern, it's not cause for panic.
The president credits passage of the American Rescue Plan for helping to get more than 200 million eligible Americans fully vaccinated. But the Supreme Court struck down his vaccine or test requirement for most private companies with 100 or more employees. The latest CBS News poll gives him low marks on his handling of the pandemic, and a majority of respondents said he's not focusing enough on the economy and record high prices due to inflation.
We've seen record job creation, record economic growth in the past year. Still, for all this progress, I know there's a lot of frustration.
Two of the president's major domestic priorities, his big social spending and climate bill and voting rights legislation, have stalled in the Senate, held up in part by members of his own party.
We knew all along that a lot of this was going to be an uphill fight.
On the international front, the buildup of Russian forces along the Ukrainian border has stoked fears of a possible invasion. For weeks, the Biden administration has been in talks with its allies and Russian and Ukrainian officials to ease tensions.
Will have massive consequences for Russia if it engages in further aggression against Ukraine.
Wednesday, the U.S. announced an additional $200 million in military aid for Ukraine. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
President Biden today met virtually with a bipartisan group of senators to discuss support for Ukraine. Secretary of State Blinken has warned that Russia could attack on, quote, very short notice. The voting rights bill, which is a priority piece of legislation for President Biden, is going to come up to the Senate floor this evening, even though it's likely to fail. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he wants to put senators on the record for voting rights and for changing the Senate's filibuster rules. New York State's Attorney General is demanding answers in her investigation of the Trump Organization. Letitia James filed court papers requesting former President Trump, his son Donald Jr., and daughter Ivanka Trump be questioned under oath for alleged fraudulent or misleading practices. The former president and his lawyers say the probe is politically motivated. Still ahead, going remote to work from home.
More and more Americans are choosing to do their job remotely while traveling. I'm Michael George, and we'll talk with a so-called digital nomad about how to combine work with seeing the world.
And next in Health Watch, how postponing surgeries because of the pandemic is causing a backlog for doctors. Topping today's Health Watch, at-home COVID-19 tests are available with the click of a button. The Biden administration today officially launched covidtests.gov, allowing 4 free tests per household, shipping in 7 to 12 days. The government is also freeing up 400 million N95 masks from the nation's stockpile in an effort to provide Americans with better protection against the surge. Antigen tests, commonly used to detect COVID-19 in children, are not up to par, according to new findings published in the BMJ. The data shows the accuracy of tests for children falls short of minimum criteria set by the World Health Organization and regulators in the U.S. and the U.K. Study authors say the report casts doubt on the effectiveness of the tests and their widespread use in schools. Study found that 53% of people surveyed said their bone, joint, and muscle issues have worsened since the COVID lockdown, and many of these patients have put off surgery to fix their pain. But postponing procedures may lead to a serious backlog for doctors. Judy McCormick has always been active, but constant hip pain was interfering with her on-the-go lifestyle.
Canceled ski trips and wasn't able to get my leg up over my bike the way I wanted to.
She needed a hip replacement, and doctors told her the news in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Judy decided to go ahead with the procedure after taking a few precautions.
I was very concerned about being vaccinated before.
Dr. Richard Berger says Judy was smart not to wait. Delaying hip or knee surgery can worsen arthritis and lead to a longer rehab. But patients and hundreds of U.S. hospitals have put elective surgeries on hold because of COVID. Researchers predict the number of hip replacements to double and the number of knee replacements to increase at least 5-fold in the next decade. A study in The Lancet found the U.S. should expect a backlog of more than 1 million joint and spinal surgeries by mid-2022. Dr. Berger says if you're experiencing pain, don't wait to schedule your surgery. And if you're worried about going into a hospital, don't be.
It's probably the safest environment to go into, safer than the grocery store, safer than the gas station. Everyone here has been tested and vaccinated, and it's really the safest place you could possibly be.
Judy is happy she had surgery when she did and is now back to her active self.
I would just say if you can get in, get it done sooner than later, you won't regret it.
Now, if your surgery is postponed, there are some things you can do to help cope with the pain. Using an aid like a walker or cane might help. You can also try over-the-counter pain relievers or applying heat and ice to the affected joint. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our pet vet on call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Dudek from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we're going to talk about a rabbit with a bald nose.
Plus, it's turned much colder for us today. Guess what? It gets colder. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, it turned out to be a much colder day for us today. An Arctic front dropped through. This is our third one that we have seen so far this winter season. In fact, it's the third one we've seen in 2.5 weeks. So we keep getting warmer and then we drop significantly colder, and that's what we have today. A lot of clouds. We've had some light little snow showers, light little flurries out there. It's not a big deal. Nice shot Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. Check this out. Here's our 24-hour temperature change. It's 30 degrees colder right now compared to 24 hours ago. That's what an Arctic front does. And we're just going to get a little bit colder as we go through the overnight hours tonight and into the daytime hours tomorrow. We started in the 40s. We've dropped into the 20s, 23 in Nevada, 28 in Anderson, 30 in Miami, 25 in Pittsburgh. Independence is sitting at about 26 degrees. And look at this Arctic air. The entire Central Plains. It's 7 in Des Moines, Lincoln at 15, but it surges all the way south into the Southern Plains. So about 2/3 of the country is dealing with the Arctic air mass. It's not going to last too long, a couple days, but we're going to be pretty cold until that passes. We have the northerly winds at about 10 to 20. We've had gusts higher than that. So if you factor in the wind, you get the wonderful wind chill, the way it actually feels. 10 Nevada, 14 Neosho, 14 in Parsons, 9 in Yates Center. As our temperatures drop tonight and the winds stay up, our wind chills will continue to drop. 7th and range line currently outside sitting at 26, north winds at 20, humidity is at 58%. Through the evening hours, we slide back through the 20s into the teens, most of us near 10 for an overnight low. So it's going to be a cold night across the region. We've had the clouds, we've had some light little snow showers, mainly along and south of I-44. It's not a big deal. There have been a few little slick spots in our very far southern counties. These are going to last over the next couple hours. Then they're out of here. The clouds will start to break up a little bit later on tonight. This storm system is starting to get organized as it passes by. So we're just seeing a few snow flurries. That is just about it. But if we look out toward the west, here's your jet stream right out of Canada, right into the southern plains. That allows the Arctic air to drop in. But there's no big storm systems out to the west. That means we're pretty quiet as we go through the next few days. Let's break this down. Let's go through the overnight hours tonight. Near 10, we clear out. We don't really warm up tomorrow. We only go into the low to mid 20s for highs. We start at 10, 20 by noon, high temp, only 25 degrees. That's with the sunshine. Tomorrow night, even colder than tonight. We drop back upper single digits. We get a southerly wind back on Friday. This helps us out a little bit. We go into the 30s for afternoon highs, but the next couple days pretty cold. Look at our wind chills, -5 by morning. Still pretty low tomorrow, 10 to 15 degrees, and then back into the single digits once again as we go into the overnight hours tomorrow night. All right, 25 tomorrow, 37 on Friday. Look at the weekend. It does rebound. 44 Saturday. If you're heading to Arrowhead on Sunday, not bad. Game time about 45 degrees. Pretty good weather in Kansas City on Sunday.
That looks good. In the meantime,
cold.
Yeah, when you have to use the term Arctic and Arctic air in the local forecast, usually not good.
Nope, not at all.
Thanks, Doug. Hey, don't forget to nominate your favorite area of business for KOIM's 4-State Finest. This is the final week to nominate. There are several categories to choose from. Just go to our website, koimnewsnow.com/finest. You'll be able to start voting for nominees on February 9th. Coming up, more people traveling while working remotely. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Charles Scott served in the U.S. Air Force in 1970 and 71. The Nevada, Missouri native was stationed in Vietnam, received a Bronze Star, and we salute Staff Sergeant Charles Scott, a 4-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, major airports are preparing for the possibility of canceled flights because of new 5G wireless technology being rolled out today and concerns about possible interference with aircraft electronics. While the FCC says 5G is safe, airlines warned as many as 1,100 passenger and cargo flights per day could be delayed, diverted, or canceled. Some airports say many cargo shipments have already been impacted. More than half of Americans are not ready for an emergency. According to a new survey by Bankrate, only about 4 in 10 people have enough savings to cover a $1,000 unexpected expense, like a trip to the emergency room or an unplanned car repair. Others would have to scramble to find the means using a credit card or a personal loan. The pandemic is changing the way we travel and work. You know that, but because so many companies are allowing employees to work remotely, More and more people are finding they can still get their paycheck while exploring new places. Michael George reports.
Taylor Gill gets paid to help other people become digital nomads like her, working while traveling the world.
Right now, I'm actually in Medellin, Colombia. And in the fall, I was able to visit Cape Town, South Africa, Kilifi, Kenya, Las Palmas, Canary Islands.
With millions of employees able to work remotely, more and more are choosing to untether themselves from a home base.
The longer this pandemic goes on, the more the world never goes back to the way it was, and that means travel isn't going back to the way it was.
Airbnb says nearly half the nights booked from last July to September were for stays of 7 days or longer, and a fifth of its business is now people staying longer than a month. On Tuesday, Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky started his stay at an Atlanta area Airbnb. He plans to move to a different town every couple of weeks to get a feel for nomad living.
And I want to really test the experience, optimize it, and show that you can actually run a really big company doing this, and it means a lot of people can do this.
Gill started living as a digital nomad in 2018. She's seen the community grow exponentially since the pandemic began.
The flexibility to travel and be in different places allows you to have new experiences outside of work every day.
She says a hybrid approach is also gaining popularity, traveling 4 to 6 months a year while still maintaining a home. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Airbnb says its third quarter revenue last year of $2.2 billion was its highest ever and 36% higher than the same period in 2019. Wallet Hub is out with its list of best and worst states to drive in. It's a green light in Iowa, the number one place to drive. Oklahoma, Kansas, and North Carolina followed. On the flip side, Hawaii was the worst state. The site weighed factors like traffic congestion and gas prices, even number of car washes per capita. So don't drive to Hawaii. Our pet vet on call next.
Services provided.
Have the meat.
Up next on the CBS Evening News, more from President Biden's press conference to mark 1 year in office. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on how the Columbus School District is dealing with a staff shortage. Plus, the Pittsburgh school superintendent talks about plans for the middle school after voters approved a school bond. And the story behind a mistaken Missouri emergency alert looking for a classic Batman villain. Yeah, no kidding. Stay with us. CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Whenever our pets lose their fur or feathers, it can be alarming. Today's question for our pet vet on call: my rabbit has been experiencing fur loss on his nose. He's not showing any signs of discomfort and seems to be eating well. What could be the reason for this?
Well, it does sound like your bunny's pretty healthy, so my guess would be he's either rooting under something or chewing through the cage and rubbing it off. Now, the reasons for that might be some dental pain. Rabbits' teeth grow continuously, so if they don't have enough to chew, they can have issues and need their teeth trimmed back. The other thing that it could be is that they're maybe a little bored or don't have enough chewies to chew on. Environmental enrichment is very important for confined animals. So if the veterinarian clears the dental problem, look at the cage that you keep him in and make sure there's enough stuff to keep him happy.
Hey, thanks for the question. We invite questions from anyone. If you have one, you just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question or brings us a fun fact every Wednesday on KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. All right, now let's check out this week's Picks of the Litter from the Joplin Humane Society. We've chosen Apollo, an adult male Great Pyrenees and Akita mix. And we have this domestic short hair female kitten named Yoshi, a real cutie. No bald-nosed rabbits, but if you're looking for a pet, don't forget, check out your local Humane Society.
Did you say Akita?
Akita.
I've never heard of that.
Well, that's a mix. at the Humane Society.
Learn something new.
If you have an Akita or other dog or cat or bunny and it's going to be outside, make sure it has someplace warm to go because it's bitterly
Yeah,
cold.
bring the pets in tonight. It's going to be cold. We're going to drop down to about 10 degrees, but our wind chill is going to be 0 to -5 throughout the overnight hours, and it doesn't get much better tomorrow. We get the sunshine back, but our temperatures struggle, only 25 degrees, back down to 9 by tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'd like to have at least double digits. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next, and of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.